8,
You're watching the
7,
Experience Comic Culture and Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily to
4,
Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
So a young boy goes into a barber shop, and the barber kind of leans forward and whispers in his customer's ear. He says, "This is the dumbest kid I have ever seen. I mean, seriously, watch this." And he turns around and he pulls a dollar bill out of his pocket, puts it in one hand, and he pulls out 2 quarters, and he puts it in the other hand. He calls the boy over. He says, "All right, son, which one do you want? Do you want $1 or 2 quarters?" And the boy eagerly grabs the 2 quarters and runs out the door. The barber just laughs, goes back to his client, goes, "What did I tell you, man? That is the dumbest kid ever. He never learns." So later on, after the customer is finished and he's left, he's walking along the sidewalk and he sees that same kid coming out of an ice cream parlor licking an ice cream cone. He goes, "Son, I got to ask you a question. Why do you take the quarters instead of the dollar bill?" And the boy, not really fazed, licking his ice cream cone, just stops long enough to say, "Well, because the day I take the dollar, the game stops." Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We've got a great lineup today. Miss Jen is back. She's got a bunch of variants from like New York and different conventions, and she's going to be selling them off for $5 along with some movie posters on what's in the box. And then we have the comic book beardies who are going to be going over some new number ones, including the very controversial new X-Men book, which if you haven't been online, we find out the who is technically the parents of Nightcrawler, which is a rather interesting story. And so they're covering that and Spider-Man Gang War and a few more things. And then tonight on SketchUp, they've got a few guests, but the main guest is, oddly enough, named Tim Guest. So it's going to be a good lineup today. You want to stick around for all that. Hey to Ed, who seems like he's in a meeting, so when he gets back, we can say hi to him. And Triple B's here, and we've got JD on the board. Now, our main topic today is kind of a late entry because there's a rumor going around about the Scarlet Witch, how she may return to the MCU, and I'm going to tell you about what the storyline that people think is going to be what's adapted for her return. So we will get into that after the news and a break, but we are going to jump into the news here. And of course, the big news yesterday and into today, of course, is the Jonathan Majors case. I mean, Marvel has kind of risked a lot on this guy, and from an acting point of view, he's a great actor. You know, he's very good. But there's been rumors, and now he's been arrested for domestic abuse, and the trial's moving forward, even though his lawyers have said it's completely a false case. There's a bunch of back and forth. Well, yesterday, a few motions were made. One of which had to do with whether or not Grace Jabari, the victim, could be referred to as a victim during the the period where they're interviewing the jurors, and the judge ruled on that. No, nobody can be called a victim in either way. There was also a motion to allow the inclusion of a sealed document about possible past bad behaviors for Jonathan Majors. And the defense said that the releasing of that document would make finding a jury almost impossible, and that the news coverage would be so scandalous and that it was not proper to be released. That decision was held over until this morning, as well as the decision on whether or not the fact that Grace Jabari, a counter complaint was filed by Jonathan Majors, and Grace Jabari was arrested by the NYPD, but then the Manhattan prosecutors or Manhattan DA chose not to move forward with that case. And the judge ruled on those two this morning. He said that yes, that can be brought up, but let me go into it more. I mean, the jury selection also continued today. The judge, see, what's funny is they call this a misdemeanor criminal trial, but he can get up to a year if convicted on assault and harassment charges. Now, so Judge Gaffney ruled on Thursday morning that the jury will get to hear that his accuser, Grace Jabari, was arrested over the same incident in short order. Judge Gaffney also issued a separate ruling about the evidence in the case that was under seal, and he sealed that ruling. So basically, we're not going to get to hear it. This is a dealt blow, the office of to the Manhattan District Attorney Office. And when Alvin Bragg was asked about it, they were simply told it's a sealed decision. Now, sources say the sealed document at issue contains information on potential past incidents involving the actor both in the US and the UK, but we don't know. It's just speculation. It's not been it's still sealed, so we don't know what they actually pertain to. On the other ruling, Judge Gaffney said the jury will learn about Jabari's arrest last month, saying this is a situation where I think it is information that should be put before a jury. He told the lawyers and everybody in the room. He said the jury should hear it. At the same time, Jabari will be allowed to testify, as the prosecutors have asserted that she knew nothing about this warrant for arrest and that she came and surrendered immediately upon hearing about it. The judge stated that the prosecutors can also cross-examine the NYPD detective who recommended Jabari's arrest. And he said, I'm giving the people full, fair opportunity to cross-examine the detective and his motives. Now the jury selection completed today. There were 6 jurors and 2 alternates selected. The jury is made up of 3 men and 3 women, with the alternates being 1 man and 1 woman. And but the case will not continue tomorrow. It'll be held over till Monday, December 4th, when opening arguments are expected. And the trial is expected to go for about 2 weeks. So there's a chance, depending on how long jury deliberation takes, that we could have a solution to this case before Christmas. So it all depends on, like I said, how quickly the court case goes. If it does hold up for 2 weeks and the deliberations are quick, if not, then it'll probably be held over, and then they'll take a Christmas and New Year's break, and then so I think they're going to try to get it done quickly. So, all right. Decent news here for the superhero movie, finally. Aquaman The Lost Kingdom has hit 3-week tracking, and the outlook is looking to be between 50 and 60 million for the 4-day total. Now, the James Wan directed sequel arrives in theaters December 22nd, and with Christmas Day falling on Monday. Now, that means the way the Christmas schedule goes is kind of weird. So what happens is, the Friday and Saturday will be normal. Sunday will dip because of it being Christmas Eve, but Christmas Day tends to be a pretty good movie-going day. So we're normally, Friday is the big day, then Saturday is usually just as big, and then Sunday dips, and then Monday is much lower. This will likely have a big dip on Sunday and then go back up on Monday. Now, this may not sound like a lot for a superhero movie between 50 and 60, but you got to remember that the opening weekend for the first Aquaman movie was only 67.8 million. What made this movie work was it had a long tail, basically. This went on, and in the first 7 days, it made 137 million. So word of mouth got in there, and people started going and seeing it. And this ended up becoming the highest grossing Warner Brothers DC movie of all time at $1.1 billion. Now, they're not going to hit that number because of a couple of reasons. First of all is that a lot of that money came from 291 million from China and another 20 million from Russia. And at this point, Russia is basically boycotting films because of the Ukraine war. And China has, the numbers from China have seriously dipped. Marvel's only getting about a third of the box office takes it used to get. So it's nowhere near what it used to be. JD says movies and Chinese food on Christmas is a Jewish tradition. Yeah. Back when I was a teenager and in my 20s, my girlfriend and I would always do that on the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, is we would spend the morning with the family. We'd have our lunch, and then we'd go to a movie. So, all right. So Aquaman could do good. The marketing, they're doing a big marketing push. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on TikTok, a lot of working with TikTok, content creators and stuff like that. So, all right, moving on. If you are someone who has been listening to my coverage of Only Murders in the Building, but haven't had a chance to see it because you don't have Hulu, well, you're in luck. ABC is tweaking some of its mid-season schedule, and the network will air season 1 of Only Murders in the Building in, coming up. This is going to be on Tuesdays. So the first one will be January 2nd, and it will follow Celebrity Jeopardy. Yeah, so it'll follow Celebrity Jeopardy, and they're going to drop 3 episodes on January 2nd and go from there. And of course, this is a series that stars Martin Short, Steve Martin, and Selma Gomez as 3 people that live in a building and there's a murder. It's been on for 3 seasons now. A 4th season has been greenlit. It's currently up for Best Comedy Series. And it's a really great show. So if you haven't seen it and it's because you don't have Hulu, well, now you can just watch it on ABC. So, all right. Let's move on to our next story. Bob Iger, man. There are sometimes I wish these people in Hollywood just be quiet. They're not really making things better when they try to explain things. Disney CEO Bob Iger said in a New York Times interview that the Marvels flopped at the box office was partly due to the lack of supervision on the set of the film as a result of the COVID pandemic. Because what movies need is more executives overseeing them. That's always proven to be a wonderful thing, right? Yeah, sarcasm. The combination of pandemic set restrictions and Disney's increased output due to the launch of streaming Disney Plus made it increasingly difficult for studio executives to oversee the onslaught of new productions. Since opening in theaters in November, the Brie Larson-led Marvel sequel has only grossed $77 million at the domestic box office and $187 million worldwide. It's the biggest flop yet in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and is shaping up to be the first MCU title not to cross the 100 million mark domestically. Now, The Marvels was shot during COVID, Iger explained. There wasn't as much supervision on the set, so to speak, where we have executives that are really looking over what's being done day after day. The Marvels flop follows another underperforming Disney film from this. Basically, Disney's had a couple really bad movies this year. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania didn't do well. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny didn't do well. But I noticed that this article that they're talking about just completely ignores Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which made almost 900 million. But because none of their movies broke $1 billion this year, they're flipping out. This is the first time since 2014, not counting the pandemic years, that Disney hasn't launched a $1 billion release. Well, people aren't going to the movies the way they used to anymore. The $1 billion releases are going to be rare, not commonplace. And even Iger says that. He says, I'm not sure another studio will ever achieve some of the numbers that we achieved. I mean, we got to the point where if a film didn't do $1 billion in the global box office, we were disappointed. That's an unbelievably high standard, and I think we have to get more realistic. Yeah. JD says the only reason Marvel's is considered a flop is because they spent too much money on it. Maybe that's what the execs on set would have prevented. It's possible. It is absolutely possible. Or they could have just made it a worse movie. It may not have done well in theaters, but most of the people I know who have seen it have all said it's a fun movie. They're not praising it as, the next greatest movie. It's not Iron Man and Guardians levels, but it's a fun movie and people enjoyed it. And you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, the audience score, even with that group out there who purposely negative review bomb these things, it's still getting an 83% audience score. So I think people enjoy the movie. They just didn't go see it. The people who saw it liked it. When it hits, it's probably going to be a huge hit on Disney Plus because people are like, oh, wait, yeah, I didn't see that. Let me watch it. Yeah, Thomas says, I haven't watched the Marvels yet. I just didn't find it appealing. Yeah, I get it. But I think that also, I think people are just being more selective on the movies they go to. It really used to be people went out to the movies to go out. And nowadays, I think people go to the movies when it's something they really want to see. Otherwise, they'll wait for it on TV and stuff like that. The idea of just going to the movies to go to a movie, not a specific movie, but just a movie, I think is done. I just don't think that exists anymore. And it's going to hurt the box office, but it's the way people are now. So. All right, one more news story. Director Tim Burton announced that the sequel to his 1988 classic film has just wrapped production. The Helmer posted photos of himself on set, sharing the news that he and the cast and the crew has finished filming. He says, thank you to everyone involved. The second film in the franchise sees the return of key characters, key characters from the first film, including Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara, while the sequel will also feature newer actors to the franchise, including Jenna Ortega, Willem Dafoe, Monica Bellucci, and Justin Theroux. And these are all new roles. Sources previously told The Hollywood Reporter that Ortega will play the daughter of writers Lydia. Beetlejuice 2 kicked off originally in May of 2023 amid the start of the writer's strike, as its script had been fully completed at that point. And it was done by Wednesday showrunners Alfred Goh and Miles Millar. They're also the ones who created Smallville. When the actors' strike began in July, the film only had a couple days left, but it shut down due to abide to the actors' strike. With the performers' strike over, the production was able to return to Vermont, where it was filming and finish off what was left. Burton said, "I feel grateful we got what we got." Told the literally it was a day and a half. We know what we have to do. It's 99% done. So, no, thank you, Tim. I'm good. So I always wanted to know about the sequel to Beetlejuice because I remember Kevin Smith talking about how it was supposed to be Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. And that concept has always stuck in my head. So if they're doing Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, I'm in. But if they're just doing something else, maybe on streamer. Just saying. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Scarlet Witch rumors and what I think they might be doing. So, be right back.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
There's a comic book universe on the streets of Cleveland. Hero Tomorrow Comics is debuting
Violante, the Undead.
Get the new issue or the entire acclaimed library live on Kickstarter.
I'm coming for you, Cleveland.
Details at clevelandsuperhero.com.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is the last day of November, November 30th, Thursday. And again, hit the like and subscribe buttons, please, while you're here. And remember, we got a great lineup tonight of what's in the box, the comic book beardies, and SketchUp. There's a story that's been sort of breaking all morning. And I wasn't sure if it really fit our normal purview, but it's been updated. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's pertinent to some of the stuff we've been talking about because of the actors' strike. But also, I think it's just as important to get the word out about it, that what's been discovered, as to just getting the word out in the first place. Early this morning, according to Deadline, a video began gaining steam online, purporting that Danny Trejo refused a paid PR visit to Ukraine because President Volodymyr Zelensky's office wanted a kickback from the sum paid to the Machete actor for the visit. Now, this is a video of Danny Trejo talking about this. The problem is, it never happened. The video is an AI fake. Deadline contacted Trejo's representatives who confirmed that the entire story is false. Trejo was never invited to Ukraine by Zelensky. He was never offered a fee for such a trip, and Zelensky's office never asked for a kickback. The video cites the actor's manager, Ryan Davies, as the source of the story, but Trejo has no such representative and never has, per his actual representation. Now, this story got a lot of steam this morning. I saw it on my X feed and a few others a lot. Just it was popping up, and some people were calling it out as a fake, but a majority of them were calling it out. And it really does come across like it's Russian propaganda to try to get the U.S. to stop backing the Ukraine so that they can win their war. And they picked a beloved actor like Danny Trejo, and they make this video, and they do it not because they think it'll get passed and that nobody will notice that it's a fake, but they do it because they just need enough people to see it without hearing that it's a fake. Once you hear something, you start questioning it. It's like these negative headline stories. Oh, this movie's a flop. Well, it's a flop just by their definition, but if it's a good movie and it actually does decent, then it's not, but you got people thinking negatively about a movie because of a headline of an article they never read, but it sticks in their brain. Well, that's the same type of thing. If you see an article that says Danny Trejo refused to go to Ukraine because he wouldn't pay a kickback to the Ukraine government, you're going to assume that the Ukraine government is crooked. And that's a narrative that a lot of people have been trying to paint. And all of this is possible, and before they would do these stories, but they would all just be verbal stories with unconfirmed reports and stuff like that. But with AI, the technology that's come along, it's made it difficult to combat these kind of things because it looks so real. And if you don't know it's not real, then you're not looking for it not to be real. So if you saw the video and you're thinking, oh man, Danny Trejo, man, he's standing up to the Ukraine. No, none of that happened. The video is a complete fake. And if you see a video that seems like something extreme or a big gotcha, check its source. Check where it comes from. Do a little digging. Don't just trust something online because it's online. You got to do that for yourself and for the truth. So, all right. We'll put that away for now and come back to Deji says this is only the first one that's made it to the U.S. national news cycle. Deepfakes have been flowing from Russia since the beginning of the war. Yeah. This one just happened to get a good, steam going. That just irritates me. That really does. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about the Scarlet Witch. Now, there's a website called Scarlet Witch Updates, and they have just been knocking it out of the park lately. They were one of the first ones to get the Scarlet Witch Steelbook. They were the first one to disseminate all of the information in the extras, getting clips from the featurette for Agatha Darkhold Diaries. I have to remember which title it is now. And they're currently posting that Marvel wants to do a Scarlet Witch project, and they want it to be a movie. Now, This is supposedly coming from Daniel Rickman or Daniel RPK, who is, again, it's one of those guys that probably gets 70 to 80% of his stuff right, maybe a little lower, but usually when he comes out with something, there's a good chance it's true. They also want WandaVision creator and showrunner Jack Schaefer, who is currently working on Agatha, as the writer-director for the movie. Now, this rumor has been picking up steam and getting, a lot of outlets are starting to cover it. However, Marvel nor Disney have actually confirmed any of this. So take that with, the proverbial grain of salt. Now, we're going to put that aside for a second. And let's look at this other bit of information that's coming out and how it kind of dovetails into that. The rumors about Agatha Darkhold Diaries is that actor Joe Locke from Heartstopper is going to be playing a grown-up version of Billy. Billy and Tommy were Wanda's children in WandaVision and in the comics. And in the comics, Billy, they do end up coming back to life, and Billy ends up becoming the hero known as Wiccan. Now, Wiccan's got an interesting story. He's got some powers of his mom's, but he's also got a boyfriend named Hulkling, who is not a Hulk. He is actually a cross between a Kree and a Skrull. That's a political, bag of cats I don't even want to mess with. But so the important thing here is that the rumor is that Joe Locke is playing Billy in the upcoming Agatha series, and that he will be part of the group that travels to the Witch's Road, which is also from the comics. This is a plane of existence that only sorcerers can go to and can walk on and whatever. Well, coming out of this series, what they're saying now is that Billy will end up taking on a quest to find his mother's soul, or what happened to his mother. Now, what happened to his mother? We know in Doctor Strange, we know in WandaVision, she kind of loses it, uses her hex magic to create Westview, to create a version of the Vision, to create children, all of that. And then she finally comes to her senses at the end, but she does it because she's still obsessed with finding her children, just in a different multiverse, using the Darkhold. She ends up going evil, trying to steal the children from another universe where she scares those children. And she eventually leaves them with their mother and goes back and destroys the Darkhold. And I want to read this quote because a lot of people are reading this quote and they're saying, well, this proves that the Scarlet Witch is dead. And I think it could be interpreted that way, or it could not. And I'm quoting from the Marvel Cinematic Universe official timeline. This is from the end of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The Scarlet Witch is finally stopped by what she loves, her children, who are safe and happy with their own mother, but are terrified of the sinister version of her. She says, I would never hurt you. I would never hurt anyone. But the Scarlet Witch says before realizing that this is no longer true. As the kindly 838 Wanda gently gathers her boys and assures the heartbroken Scarlet Witch that they will be loved, the Wanda Maximoff of the Universe 616 surrenders. She destroys Wundagore and collapses it upon herself ending both great threats to all of the multiverses. Ended the threat to the multiverse. Now, that's kind of an interesting way of putting it, because it doesn't say she dies. It just says the threat is over. And if she's no longer threatening the universe, then the threat is over. Kevin Feige was asked if Wanda was dead, or if Wanda died at the end of Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. He goes, "What? I saw a flash of red light as everything collapsed, so who knows?" So he's non-committal, which means that I think they've left the door open. Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda Maximoff, has talked about how she hopes that Wanda could get a redemption arc and thinks that there is humor still in the character, that there's still life in the character. Plus, we have the White Vision running around the MCU that we have not seen since WandaVision. We don't know what's going on with him. Hey, Kenneth, good to see you. So there's a lot of threads there that somebody could come along and put together. Now, let's throw one other thing on top of that, is that a recent report that Jack Schaefer, again, co-creator and showrunner for WandaVision and the working on Agatha, is said that she just signed a 3-picture deal with Marvel. Well, that would make a lot of sense if they had a particular character in mind for her to do a 3-picture deal with, or 3 pictures with. So maybe there's a Wanda trilogy coming along. Okay. So, yeah, she appears dead, but we're not sure. Now, there's a lot of people pointing at one particular comic that they think might be where they would find inspiration for a Wanda movie. And I don't know if I disagree with them, because a lot of it deals with a lot of components that are currently either right on the verge of being introduced or introduced in the MCU. So let's take a look at that. Now, this was a storyline that took place after House of M, where Scarlet Witch was pretty much the bad guy. And this worked as kind of a redemption arc for Wanda, which is what Elizabeth Olsen wants, is a redemption arc. It was called Avengers Children's Crusade. Now, this is basically a Young Avengers miniseries, or series, that ran from 2010 to 2012. It's written by Alan Heinberg, who actually created or co-created the characters, and it's drawn by Jim Chung. And it pulls in a lot of different elements that are important to the Wanda of the MCU and the MCU as it's growing now. In the series, Magneto learns that the Young Avengers were going to search for the still missing Scarlet Witch, and that Wiccan and Speed may be reincarnations of Wanda's children. So Magneto meets them, stating that he wants Wiccan and Speed to finally know him as their grandfather and wants to help them find Wanda. Now, the actual Avengers, not the Young Avengers, try to stop Magneto and fight him unsuccessfully before Wiccan ends up teleporting Magneto and the Young Avengers to Wundagore Mountain. There they encounter Quicksilver, who also attempts to kill his father. However, they discover that there had been a Scarlet Witch kind of running around at that point, and it turns out she's actually a Doombot. So guess who this brings into play? Yep. So the Young Avengers and Magneto journey to Latveria, where the Avengers and Quicksilver, along with Wonder Man, follow behind. So again, a lot of these elements are being put into the MCU right now. Now, Wiccan eventually finds the real Wanda, apparently devoid of her powers, amnesiac, and engaged to be married to Dr. Doom. Now, Wolverine's there and tries to kill Wanda because of all that she did in House of M, but is prevented from doing so by the reappearance of Iron Lad. And we know that Iron Lad is a young variant of Kang the Conqueror, who is also kind of big right now. Now, Doom also states that Wanda is depowered. Iron Lad and the Young Avengers, and Iron Lad is part of the Young Avengers, so him showing up makes sense. Iron Lad and the Young Avengers escape with Wanda into the time stream and land in the past. And this is when the resurrected Jack of Hearts ended up blowing up the Avengers Mansion. And the team ends up escaping the explosion and involuntarily returns to the present due to Wanda, who suddenly remembers everything. And one of the side effects of them basically jetting out of there is they save Scott Lang's life. So Scott Lang, who was originally killed when Jack of Hearts exploded at Avengers Mansion, is now alive. So they save Cassie's dad, and Cassie is part of the Young Avengers. Now, when the group returns to the present, Scarlet Witch is shown in a depression where she thinks that she killed her father, her brother, and the Avengers. She vows to kill herself with Kree ships and Ultron clones, which Hawkeye and the Young Avengers destroy. Now, during that time, Beast and Jessica Jones arrive, where Beast learns that the Scarlet Witch that he encountered was actually a Doombot. So Wiccan tells her that her father, her brother, and sons are still alive. Billy finally gets that happy mother-child reunion that he's been dreaming of. Beast asks Wanda if she can reverse the No More Mutants spell. Now, she's unsure if her spell would work. They meet up with X Factor's investigation, which has many clients who are depowered mutants. Richter volunteers and has his powers restored. The X-Men show up and Wanda tells X Factor investigation that if the X-Men want more mutants, then that's exactly what she'll give them. However, a battle ensues between the X-Men and the Avengers over what to do with Wanda, forcing her and the Young Avengers to flee back to Dr. Doom. It is revealed that Wanda's enhanced powers were a result of her and Doom's combined attempt to channel the life force in order to resurrect her children, but it proved to be too much for Wanda to contain and overtook her. With Wiccan and Doom's help, they seek to use the entity possessing Wanda to restore mutant kind's power, but they are stopped by Patriot, Patriot, of course, is the grandson of the first Black Captain America. We meet him in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And Patriot is concerned at the fallout that would ensue if the powerless mutants are suddenly repowered, only to find out that the entity was transferred to Doom's body, giving him Wanda's godlike powers. His scars finally healed. He calls himself Victor, discards his now useless mask, and promises to take care of everything. Now, Doom becomes omnipotent with the powers surpassing those of beings as the Beyonder or the Cosmic Cube. He offers to use these powers to fix the Avengers and the X-Men's problems and brings their deceased friends back to life, but both teams refuse the offer. The Young Avengers confront him. Aided by the Avengers, the X-Men and X-Factor, Wanda and Wiccan manage to remove Doom's newfound powers, and he claims that he was responsible for Scarlet Witch's doings during the Avengers Disassembled and House of M events, later established to have been lying on Wanda's behalf, but in chance of taking sole responsibility. But during the confrontation, Stature attacks Doom, who responds by blasting her with a wave of energy. After Wanda and Wiccan successfully remove the powers from Doom, he escapes, and the last panel, issue 8, ends with the heroes surrounding Stature's stricken form. Now, following the battle, with Doom, Stature is revealed to have died from her injuries. Iron Lad offers to save Stature by taking her into the time stream. Vision objects to this, making Iron Lad enraged with him. Iron Lad attacks him, resulting in Vision's destruction. Iron Lad then prepared to jump into the time stream to go back and save Stature, with Wiccan warning him that this is the moment he becomes Kang the Conqueror. But the lad is not deterred. With the battle over, all that was left was to determine the fate of the Scarlet Witch. Cyclops agrees to leave the Scarlet Witch alone, but states that he will kill Wanda if she turns against the heroes again. Rejecting the offer to join the Avengers or her family, Wanda departs, stating that after years of defining herself as Magneto's daughter, Pietro's sister, or the Vision's wife, she wants to find out who she is on her own before she decides what to do with her life. Later, the Young Avengers decide to disband, much to the disapproval of Speed. Months pass by with the events of Spider Island, Schism, and the Human Torch's revival having occurred, and the Young Avengers taking no action. All the time, Wiccan was in a depressive state. Hulkling tries to get him to talk to someone, but Wiccan refused. Wiccan then believing Hulkling is breaking up with him, leading Hulkling to make an impromptu proposal. They kiss, but are interrupted by Miss Marvel and told to get into uniform and go to the mansion. And this all ends with the Young Avengers being officially recognized as full-fledged Avengers. Yeah. Straightforward, simple comic story, right? That has everything in the kitchen sink. That has Iron Lad turning into Kang. That has Doctor Doom. It has Magneto and Quicksilver and Wiccan and Speed and Hulkling and saving Scott Lang. I mean, it is just a huge story. And it's obvious that Marvel couldn't adapt it as it is. I mean, geez, it's huge, but it is a pretty interesting take and interesting to see what they could do with it. I think it's a lot to work with. And it's funny because House of M, Wanda's actions are known by everybody. All the mutants that lost their powers hate her, all of that. In Multiverse of Madness, not a lot of people in the 616 know what she did. So her redemption arc, there's a lot of people in Kamatage that would, Kamatage, who would be upset. But other than that, not a lot of people outside of there really know what she did. So it would be pretty interesting to see how they tackle that. But all right, let's go ahead and we will take our final break. And when we come back, we will wrap up the show. We'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Symphonic verses, Nocturne's romance. A song of romanticized darkness, dreaming dead by sleep.
To be continued. 3 little words that hold the secret to the next great story. 3 words that will thrill you, confound you, give life to new possibilities. Every variation of To Be Continued is a promise. A promise of adventure. A promise of excitement. A promise of unseen wonders and unexplored worlds. A promise that every issue you read makes you a part of a never-ending journey. And behind every page, there will be an unopened door waiting for you. This story to be continued at your local comic book shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com today.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Well, it's good to see everybody popping in here. Ed, Jay, Preston, and Slipknot. Preston says, so what was the giveaway? I don't think we had a giveaway. JD, is there something I don't know about? Yeah, I don't know. But so please hit the like and subscribe buttons down there. And so this is the wrap up of the week. It's the wrap up of the month. We're going to be going into December, and I want to throw an offer out to you guys. December is always a very slow month. News stories just trickle to a stop. And it's just topics for the show are going to be interesting to come up with. So if there is something you guys want me to do a show about, if you want, I mean, within reason, I know Ed would love it if I did a crochet show. I get that. And it's tempting. I've got this kit where I can make a Spider-Man figure, crochet Spider-Man guy about that big. I could do that. But anyway, but if there's a topic you guys want me to cover, to do a deep dive into a character, we got the Madam Web movie coming up. If you want to get a better understanding of Madam Web or one of the spider people in it, or Ezekiel, or try to explain what John Straczynski or J. Michael Straczynski was doing with his run that led to this, or you want to know more about Kraven the Hunter, or just, you speculation. You want me to get back to the Jack of Hearts pitch, which will probably happen in December. You could do your Captain America article you wrote for Jim, or we could work on the Jack of Hearts story. Okay, see? So if there's something like that you guys want me to cover, let me know. I am open. I will tell you the honest truth. I didn't know what today's topic was going to be until about an hour and a half before the show when I saw rumors about the Scarlet Witch thing. And then I scrambled to put the show together. So I am open to ideas. I'm asking for ideas. Now, I will probably do some Christmas themed stuff, talking about some good, some of the best Christmas comics, Christmas movies. Is Die Hard 3 a Christmas movie? Not Die Hard 3. Iron Man 3 a Christmas movie? Stuff like that. Also talk about some good gift ideas for comic fans and also for people who don't read comics that you want to get into comics. So we'll do those kind of things. But if you've got some stuff you want me to cover over this next month, please let me know. Maybe we can dive back into some Warhammer stuff, things like that. So just let me know what you want to cover. I'm going to wrap it up there because for some reason I think we're running, the show's running a little later than whatever. But it's been a fun week, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. You can talk a little more about Karma too. Okay. Oh, the Purgatory novel. Yeah, I've got that right here. We could definitely talk about Purgatory. Any chance you'll cover White Tiger? I did a little bit on the White Tiger, but I could do more about her or him, her. So, yeah, we could definitely do that. Madcap and Wolf would be a good gift. Oh, Madcap and Wolf. Yeah, I did a one-shot comic for Olympus Comics called Madcap and Wolf, or Madcap and Wolf, something like that. I think that's what Jay's talking about. Slip says, little-known horror movies, maybe. I saw one I never heard of recently called Mortuary, starring Billy Paxton. He was quite entertaining in it. Good. Oh, no, it was Mad Wolf and Cop, not Mad Cop and Wolf. We could talk about movies that suck before we watch them. Oh, wait, that's already online. Yes. Deep dive into Comics Code, Rise and Fall. Nice, JD. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there, but I will see you all Tuesday of next week. I hope you all have a great weekend, and you're starting to get into the festive holiday spirit. Start getting those Christmas trees up, and remember that Christmas is one of the loneliest times for people who don't have family and friends. So reach out to people you know, check on them, make sure they're okay. And, it's okay not to be okay. But there's people that can help. There's lines that can help. So just keep an eye on each other this holiday, okay? See you next week.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.